Hearing is the gateway to communication, connecting, and having relationships. It's also crucial for language development and reading. 40% of deaf adults read at a 4th grade level. Science writer Lydia Denworth explores hearing, language, and the brain in her new book. It's called I Can Hear You Whisper, an intimate journey through the science of sound and language. No one is more prepared to share her story than CBS This Morning contributor Lee Woodruff, whose 14-year-old daughter is hearing impaired. Lee, good morning.
Good morning, Gail. Well, I will tell you that when we heard my daughter Nora's diagnosis, my first thought was, who will ask her to the prom? How will she hear her baby cry? Lydia Denworth also panicked. And then she researched this book like crazy because her son was the subject. 11-year-old Alex Just loves basketball. And like any 5th grader who's any good at it, he studies his opponent's verbal cues, even more so because he's deaf.
Sometimes I don't hear like what the coach says, and then sometimes like other kids sort of like tell me, well, that you're doing something wrong, and it can sometimes embarrass me actually sometimes.
Are there certain times that you know you're just feeling different than the other kids or hearing things differently?
Definitely.
Alex was born the 3rd of 3 boys. His mom, Lydia Denworth, knew early on something was different.
It started at bedtime. We would be reading Goodnight Moon a lot and things like that. And I would say, Alex, point to the moon, point to the red balloon, you know, and he just never could do it. And I thought, this doesn't seem right. Why can't he point to the cow?
Around age 2, Alex was diagnosed with moderate to profound hearing loss, and nearly 3 when his family chose a cochlear implant. The device has an external microphone and speech processor, and electrodes implanted in the cochlea provide sound to the brain.
The surgeon said, you know, we need to do this before he's 3. And I said, well, you know, is there a deadline? and there is. The brain changes over time. But if you want a child to speak and listen, they need that sound in that part of the brain then.
For Alex, still a toddler, that sound in the brain opened up a new world. What was the moment like when you first realized that your son could hear?
He suddenly said the word cake, which has high-frequency k sounds in it, and he had never been able to say k before. And my middle son, who was 4 at the time, said, he said cake! Alex said cake! You know, we're all celebrating.
In the deaf world, there's much to cheer. New technologies.
Daddy loves you.
A child received the first auditory brainstem implant this year, and for the first time ever, could hear. And new mentors.
Told me it was over. But I've been deaf since I was 3, so I didn't listen.
The Seattle Seahawks' Derek Coleman going to the Super Bowl inspired thousands of deaf kids eager for role models. In Denworth's journey, she was surprised to find not only did she have to navigate technology, but deaf culture, and a divide between those who promote signing over medical devices and oral speech.
The hardest part was reconciling our view of this as this miraculous technology with these people saying that it was a terrible, threatening, offensive piece of equipment. My goal for Alex has been primarily for him to know that it's there and to access it if he wants to.
Alex lives in a hearing world, attending school with his brothers. He gets A's in classes where teachers wear special microphones. He's still deaf and okay with that. What does it feel like when you take your device off?
It feels like everything just like shuts down and I can't really hear anyone. It's sort of peaceful without having to hear sometimes like annoying things that my brother says.
Typical.
As we mentioned, you have a hearing impaired daughter.
I do, yes.
Have you considered this for her?
Nora is not profoundly deaf enough, so this was not initially an option. If her hearing worsens, which it has not yet, we would consider it. It's about an $8,000 operation, and it's usually covered by insurance. It's a miracle. It really is.
We did a program about it. It's just amazing to see people come, all of a sudden can hear.
Yes, it is. And you can keep your culture, too. Sign language and being part of the deaf culture.
All right, thank you, Lee.